There's a scenario playing out right now that would have sounded absolutely insane just a few years ago. Actually, scratch that. It would have sounded insane a few months ago. But the NFL is a wild place, and sometimes the most unthinkable possibilities become very real conversations. I'm sitting here looking at the current landscape of our Chicago Bears, looking at what's happening across the league, and my mind keeps circling back to something that feels like it belongs in a fever dream. But stay with me here, because by the end of this video, you might actually see this differently. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report, your home for all the latest updates, breaking news, and yes, even the wildest speculation about our beloved Chicago Bears. Today, we're going deep into something that's going to challenge everything you think you know about this franchise's future. So, let's set the stage. The Bears are 7-3, sitting atop the NFC North after that heart-stopping victory against Minnesota in Week 11. I've been covering this team for years, and I can't remember the last time we had this kind of record this late in the season. The energy is different, the wins are piling up, and for the first time in forever, we're actually talking about playoff positioning instead of draft picks. That alone should tell you something about where this organization is headed. But here's the thing that's been eating at me, the question that keeps me up at night, analyzing every possible angle. How sustainable is this success, and what moves could this franchise make to not just compete now, but dominate for years to come? Now, before we get into the meat of this, I need you to understand the context of where we are right now. Week 12 is coming up, and we're hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers at Soldier Field. 6-4, they're a legitimate test for us. And here's where things get interesting. There's injury news coming out of Pittsburgh that has massive implications for our game this week. Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback who's been an absolute nightmare for this franchise for nearly 2 decades, left Sunday's game against Cincinnati with a fractured left wrist. Reports indicate he's got a 50-50 shot at playing against us. The man who literally proclaimed himself owner of the Chicago Bears might not even be on the field when the Steelers come to town. But here's where my brain starts working overtime. And this is where I need you to really lock in, because we're about to explore something that sounds completely crazy on the surface, but actually has some legitimate threads worth pulling. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. He's dealing with injuries. He's playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers after that whole saga with the New York Jets that didn't exactly pan out the way anyone expected. His contract situation is complicated. His future is uncertain, and the Steelers, while competitive, might not be his long-term home. So here's the thought that's been bouncing around in my head, the scenario that I can't shake no matter how absurd it initially sounds. What would it take for Aaron Rodgers to end up in a Chicago Bears uniform? I know, take a breath. Let that sink in for a second. The man who's tormented us, who's beaten us more times than I care to count, who's celebrated at Soldier Field like he pays the mortgage, wearing the navy and orange. It sounds like betrayal. It sounds like madness. It sounds like something that could never happen in a million years. But hear me out, because the NFL is a business, and stranger things have happened in this league. Let me walk you through why this isn't as insane as it sounds on the surface. First, let's talk about our current quarterback situation. We've got young talent developing, we've got pieces in place, but are we one elite quarterback away from being legitimate Super Bowl contenders? Look at what we've built on defense. Look at our offensive weapons. Look at the coaching staff that's finally getting it right. Now imagine plugging in a future Hall of Fame quarterback who knows the NFC North better than anyone alive. Someone who's dissected every defense in this division for nearly 2 decades. Someone who, despite his age, still has the arm talent and the football IQ to compete at the highest level. Second, consider Rodgers' perspective. He's in the twilight of his career. He's chasing one more championship before he hangs it up. The Steelers are good, but are they Super Bowl good? Are they built to make a deep playoff run this year or next? Now look at the Bears, 7-3, young talent everywhere, a defense that's getting better by the week, and a fan base that's absolutely starving for championship football. If you're Aaron Rodgers and you're thinking about legacy, about going out on top, about proving you can win anywhere, wouldn't Chicago be the ultimate statement, winning a championship for the franchise you dominated your entire career? That's the kind of story that transcends sports. Third, and this is where it gets really interesting from a strategic standpoint, think about what the Bears organization might be calculating behind closed doors. We've been patient, we've been building through the draft, we've been doing things the right way. But there comes a moment when you have to strike, when you have to go all in on a championship window. If the front office believes this roster is close, if they think we're one elite quarterback away from competing with Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Detroit for NFC supremacy, then age becomes less of a factor. You're not signing Rodgers to a 10-year deal. You're bringing him in for a 2-year championship push, maximizing the talent we have right now before contracts expire and the roster inevitably changes. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the history, the rivalry, the pure hatred that exists between Aaron Rodgers and Bears fans. How do you reconcile that? How do you go from booing this man every time he touches the ball to cheering for him in a Bears uniform? It's complicated, it's messy, it's uncomfortable. But you know what else it is? Winning football. And at the end of the day, fans want championships. If Aaron Rodgers gives us the best chance to win a Super Bowl, if he's the missing piece that takes us from playoff team to championship contender, then you swallow your pride and you make it work. Look at what Tampa Bay did with Tom Brady. Look at what Denver did with Peyton Manning. Sometimes the best move is the one that feels the strangest. Let's talk logistics for a second, because this isn't just about feelings and narratives. This is about contracts, cap space, and organizational philosophy. Rodgers' current deal with Pittsburgh is complex, but it's not immovable. If he becomes available, either through trade or free agency, the Bears have the financial flexibility to make a competitive offer. We've been smart with our cap management, we've got room to maneuver, and if the front office decides this is the move, they can make it happen. The question isn't, can we afford it? The question is, do we want to? And here's where I land on this whole thing after analyzing every angle, after considering every possibility, after really digging into what this would mean for the franchise. I think it's a long shot. I think the history and the rivalry make it incredibly unlikely. But I also think it's not as impossible as it sounds. The NFL is unpredictable, rosters change overnight, and sometimes the most shocking moves end up being the most brilliant. If the Bears are serious about winning now, if they believe this core is ready to compete for championships, then every option has to be on the table, even the ones that sound completely insane. Right now we're focused on Week 12, on beating Pittsburgh with or without Rodgers under center for them. We're focused on that brutal stretch coming up with Philadelphia, Green Bay twice, San Francisco, and Detroit. We're focused on proving that this 7-3 record is legitimate, that we can beat quality opponents, that we belong in the playoff conversation. But in the back of my mind, in those quiet moments when I'm thinking about the future of this franchise, I can't help but wonder about the possibilities, about the moves that could take us from good to great, from playoff team to championship contender. The Rodgers situation this week, his injury, his uncertain status, it's just a reminder of how quickly things change in this league. One week you're the face of a franchise, the next you're dealing with injuries and contract uncertainty. And for the Bears, it's a reminder that opportunities arise when you least expect them. Whether that opportunity involves Aaron Rodgers or not, we have to be ready to capitalize. We have to be aggressive, we have to be bold, and we have to be willing to make the moves that championship teams make. So here's what I want from you, the fans who make this community incredible. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me this could never happen. Or tell me you see the vision, that you understand why this conversation is worth having. Would you accept Aaron Rodgers in a Bears uniform if it meant a legitimate shot at a Super Bowl? Can you separate the history from the potential? And most importantly, what moves do you think this front office should be considering as we push toward the playoffs and beyond. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I genuinely want to hear every perspective on this. If you're not already subscribed to Bears News Fan Report, hit that subscribe button right now. We're bringing you daily updates, breaking analysis, and the conversations that matter most to Bears fans everywhere. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video, because we're covering every angle of this season as we push towards something special. Like this video if you appreciate the bold takes and the willingness to explore every possibility, and share it with every Bears fan you know. Let's keep this conversation going. This is Bears News Fan Report, and I'll see you in the next one. Bear down.